All right. The little green button comes on. That means we're live. So we are live. Welcome, everyone. It's been a week. We didn't have a webinar last week because we kicked off our first day of virtual eTourism Summit. So we were all hands on deck there for our first presentation, but super happy to be back this week with some really great information that you're absolutely going to love. I'm going to give everyone a chance to log on here, but as always, as you're logging on, chat us. Tell us where you're coming in from. There you go, right away. See, Derek?
Hey, Heather.
People are going to be calling you out right as they saw you. We're really excited this week to have Derek Price with us from Expedia Group Media Solutions. So we have, I got a preview of his presentation yesterday, and these are the numbers that we're hungry for. This is the information that we're hungry for. So I know everyone is really going to love it. Derek is awesome. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Seriously, do you need any more of this? Come on.
No, my head is, I thank God I've got a big screen because my head's going to speak up. Oh, Bob, I need that tape so bad. I miss it.
So this is what I love about these webinars is that it's like Old Home Week. I can't see everybody. I mean, by this time, we would have seen people 3 and 4 times a month for the last 5-6 months. And it's, I feel like it's a withdrawal from seeing my industry friends out on the road and at events. So this makes me super happy when I see everyone's name calling in. I saw Marion Wolf, who I would have seen at ITB, and I did not get to see her. I only get to see her a couple times a year. So it's wonderful to see everyone logging in. Before we get started, I should say thank you to Tour Operator Land and Betsy Cooper. Thank you for putting that in the chat box so I didn't forget it. They have sponsored every single one of our webinars and continue to do so. And it's a great tool for royalty-free photos and itineraries and getting in touch with tour operators. So make sure that, that you reach out to Betsy. Her information's in the chat and get some more information on that. And with that, we still have people coming in, but I know that, Estella from Fort Worth.
Yes, Stella.
Derek has great information, and I want to get through that information and also make sure we have time for questions because I know you'll have some. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, my friend. Thank you for being here. And let you run with that great information we saw yesterday. And I only got like the short version, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, good. Well, thank you, Sherry. Thank you for everybody in your time and allowing me to take this stage virtually. It's actually surprising and really exciting to see a lot of names that I am familiar with that by this time this year, I would have probably seen a couple times at shows. So it's great to see you. I have some good information, but I also want to make sure that we have time for questions. Please, as Sherry said, utilize the Q&A section here. We will try to get to as many questions as possible. I promise that we will keep track of the ones that I'm not able to answer, and I will be able to respond back. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully, I am technologically advanced enough to do this. Is everybody seeing it?
Look at you. Well done.
I think I can press a button. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Derek Price. I'm the Director of Business Development for Expedia Group Media Solutions. I live in South Florida. I have been in the travel industry for many, many years. It's interesting. I was just on a Destinations Florida call, and somebody said that they were retiring because they've spent 38 years in the industry, and I realized I am only 5 years short of that. So that means I get to retire soon.
That's a good wish. It's good to want things, Derek.
Right. For those of you who don't know, that Expedia Group Media Solutions, we call ourselves a two-sided marketplace because we are an online travel retailer as well as a media platform, and that gives us the ability to introduce you, potential travel advertisers, to our travel customers while they're going through their shopping journey on our site across the world. And again, for those of you who don't know, We are global, 200 sites across the world, and one of them is being rebranded and reintroduced to the world as Verbo. Many of you have known them as HomeAway. And vacation rentals, as we'll talk about throughout my presentation, are seeing a tremendous resurgence. And it's the one accommodation type that we are seeing rebound much more strong than some of the other traditional accommodations that we're seeing. In fact, Verbo is seeing a stronger growth, in fact, beating numbers from last year, where that is not something that we've seen traditionally this year with other other accommodations types. But enough about that. When I was talking to Sherry about joining you today, there was a couple things that I thought would be really important. Obviously, I want to talk about trends and what we're seeing, but I also wanted to give you some insight into what our customers are actually saying they are doing on our site. So Expedia Group, back in April, started tracking and asking our customers what they were doing. And we did that over a 4-month period. So April through July, we asked them some questions. And so the answer to these questions, they're self-identifying as what they are doing. So it started off, the first question was really easy. Are you looking to travel internationally or domestic? I think most of us know the answer. Domestic is really ruling sort of the decision-making process of our customers. So not particularly leaving their country of origin, except for South Korea. I don't know why they want to get out. But with the US travelers specifically, we are seeing them really enjoying traveling within their country. I also think it is anecdotal. As many of you know, international flights are not as prevalent as they were last year. Just talking to some of my friends over at Tampa Bay, Canada flights are just starting to come back into their airport. So getting internationally is not as easy. But I think as we see recovery happen over the next 18 to 24 months, we'll see those numbers change a little bit. But the other thing that I think is really important and is actually really positive from my standpoint is we asked the customers what they were doing on our site. So you'll see 4 colors here. Obviously, they were coming to take a look at their reservations, make a change, or cancel a booking. As you all know, March was a dismal month and we saw enormous numbers of cancellations. But the thing that strikes me as really exciting is that from the very beginning, they never lost the love of traveling. And we found that a good portion of our customers were still coming to our site on a regular basis to dream about where they were going to go next. And I think that's really a positive story to tell. Take a look at June, 50%. Now, I will tell you, June is when my cabin fever started to hit. I was doing a lot of shopping on our sites and taking a look of where I would want to go next. But then the next thing that happened that was really exciting is in July, where we see those customers coming back and actually shopping with destinations and hotels and making bookings, which I think is super exciting. And we definitely saw that number continue to rise through the summer season. The other thing that we noticed that again, maybe some of you have heard or not, but the road trip or traveling by car is incredibly prevalent now. We'll talk a little bit about plane travel in just a minute, but many of you who may be on the destination side are seeing that drive market is even more important now than it ever has been before. In fact, we are seeing people willing to drive longer than they ever have before. Traditionally, we think a drive market is anything within about a 350-mile radius. We've now started expanding that, and when talking with our advertisers from a DMO, that market is actually now looking closer to 700 or 750 miles one way. I don't know if you've noticed, but over here in the far right, there are a good number of people who are willing to travel up to 1,500 miles. I've got to be honest with you, I don't think I love anybody enough to be in a car with them for 1,500 miles. But they're willing to do it. And I think that's super exciting. So if there are any car rental companies, also rural hotels, what a great opportunity to start talking about road trips, because people are not driving that distance in one setting. They are actually driving a bit, stopping, and then continuing on to their major destination. The other thing that we are finding is that the reason for travel is slightly changing. So if any of you have seen my presentations on traveler trends before, these 5 categories are typically what we see in the top 5, but what we're seeing is that the reason or the focus of the trip is slightly changing. Had I done this about a year ago, that relaxation trip or the activities-based trip was definitely much higher on the list. But what we're seeing now is they need a leisure trip for the family, or they want to visit friends and family because they've not been able to do that before. I think also the families are now being quarantined in their home, and they want to get out and see open spaces besides their 4 walls. So I think that's really important. We're going to talk a little bit about friends and family, in particular where they stay and how they the accommodations they use, and that's changed a little bit. In fact, here we are. So one of the interesting conversations that we had with our customers are, if you are traveling within the next month, what type of accommodation are you looking for? And you'll see here, primarily it's the chain hotels, vacation rentals, or staying with friends and family. I think there's a sense of safety and knowledge about what sort of situation we're in within that month. Chain hotels, definitely a big percentage. One of the benefits that chain hotels have is that they've been able to talk about their sanitation protocols and what they are doing and putting in place to make sure our customers are safe and can stay healthy. Same thing with vacation rentals. I know that Airbnb and Vrbo have talked to the owners of their vacation rental properties and have instituted new cleaning procedures and length of time between rentals. So there is a sense of safety within that. However, things change when people are looking to travel farther out. You'll see vacation rental and chain hotels, the percentage goes up again because it's that sense of safety. It's not that they don't like their friends or family, but they just don't know what the situation is going to be like in the next 2 to 3 months. But there is a sense of stability within the vacation rental or the major chain hotel situation. And again, just a quick comment from one of our customers. My future accommodations will be very different as they are more secluded and private. I think this is saying a lot. And I mentioned that I was on the Destinations Florida call. One of the things that we are hearing is that the non-urban locations, those hotels that are set farther out from city center, are actually seeing stronger occupancies than those hotels downtown. And I think it's because people are looking to give themselves space away from the crowds. And again, I mentioned road trips. Absolutely, we are seeing that. However, this is pre-COVID. We asked the question, what would you have done had COVID never happened? And they were saying, I'm getting on a plane, and I don't know about you. I am an avid plane traveler. I travel, I see Sherry and the Connect group and many of you on international shows. I travel about 250,000 miles a year. Well, not this year. But I had to travel to Phoenix in August. My mother unfortunately had a bit of an accident. I had to go visit her. I can't tell you the anxiety and the angst that I went through booking the flight and preparing myself to get to the airport. Now, I had a great situation. Delta does it right. I'm not paid by Delta. This is not sponsored by Delta, but they did a great job making me feel safe and making sure people were living up to their agreement to wear their masks. However, when we ask the question, how would you travel now? It has changed dramatically. That percentage of people who want to get on a plane, definitely lower. And people wanting to drive their own car is definitely much higher. So I think that's really interesting. Again, it goes back to that road trip or that drive market. So think about that as you're sort of thinking about how you market to customers. Is that an opportunity to sort of garner that new customer? And again, we talked about this, really consumers, almost half of our consumers are concerned or uncomfortable about getting on a plane. Now, as airlines continue to take measures to make sure our customers are safe, I think we may see this number go down a little bit, but I think it's going to take a while. I think a lot of the futurists are saying it's going to take 2 or 3 years for us to get rebound to that 2019 sort of feeling of comfortability and the market being completely recovered. The other thing that is definitely really top of mind with our customers is how your product, how you as a supplier are making sure that they are being safe and healthy. One of the things we instituted very early on with any of our advertisers are please include messaging around your sanitizing protocols. This is something that customers are responding to very, very positively. For those of you who have seen my travel trends presentations in the past, that special deals and offers was definitely the #1 thing that they were looking for. And for those of you who are wondering, when I talk about deals and offers, especially from an Expedia group point of view, it's not always the least expensive price. And in fact, very often lowest price is not the winner. It is the value of what people get. But now it is all about how safe they're going to feel within the product that you're offering. So if you're not doing it now, I would certainly recommend including some type of health and hygiene information within your messaging. And then this is a bit self-serving, but this is absolutely important for our customers. And you'll notice I actually talk about travel agents in this slide as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about our travel agency affiliate program in a moment. But our customers come to our sites because they can shop for any travel product, almost any travel product, in a single platform. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to book, but we have the opportunity to get your product in front of them. They can book car, hotel, activities, train, anything. So it's a really important opportunity for you to have your message in front of our customer. Again, giving them the opportunity to learn about you. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to book on an OTA. And as I mentioned, we do have a travel agent affiliate program. It's not super well known, but I think you're going to hear about it. And for those travel agents on the group, I actually started my travel career right out of high school as a travel agent at Dillard's Travel. Many of you may not know, but the department store Dillard's had a travel agency for years. And I had some of the most fun times in my career working for Dillard's. And so I'm really excited to see that our travel agent affiliate program is sort of getting off and seeing some great traction. Because as a travel agent, when Expedia came into business, I was not particularly fond of them. But now, obviously, I have to be because I work here. But one of the things that's really interesting is that not everything is online, but it's getting there. So this is sort of a representation of the market, online market, meaning total market, travel market value, what's online versus being booked through a traditional travel agent. And so there's still opportunity. And one of the things that our team at the Travel Agency Affiliate Program has shown is that that marketplace is growing. In fact, one of the strongest growing generations using a travel agent is the millennial, and that is a huge population. Now, I have to think that part of that population is using a travel agent because they're so very busy, they need somebody else to do it for them. But they also know that experience and expertise is a value, and travel agents have an enormous value. So I'm super excited to see this market grow within our portfolio. Just so you know, and again, I don't work for the TAP program, but I definitely think this is a really valuable program for those travel agents and even wholesalers that are on the call today. This program gives you access to all of our supply, hotels, airlines, car rental companies, and activities, and you have the opportunity to make a rev share commission on all of it. We offer all types of accommodations, and this includes the vacation rental product that we now have on site. And real quickly, and before I get into the insights, I wanted to show the growth in the booking trends that we're seeing from the TAP population. 2019, we saw a 24% increase in travel agency bookings year over year. Now, obviously, I'm not going to talk about year over year growth for 2020 because that's a little sad, but we are still seeing active travel agents on our site making bookings. And you can take a look. Obviously, in green is the month that the booking is made. In blue on the right is the month that consumers are actually staying. And look at that peak July, August, and September. It's super, super encouraging to see that happen. And as we go into the trends, I'm now also going to start talking about, most of the trends I'm going to show you are North America specific. So if you are a destination or somebody who specializes in a region, please reach out to me, and I have my contact details later in the presentation. I'm happy to help you out with any of that information. But I wanted to show you sort of the trajectory of week over week changes of the travel agency community on our sites. We saw a huge spike in visitation and bookings near the end of August. I think this is very typical as we were going into the Labor Day weekend. We then saw a dip right after Labor Day, completely in season with what we traditionally see on site. And you will actually see a slide of our consumer direct sites that sort of matches that dip after Labor Day. What I do want to point out is the trajectory up after Labor Day is a stronger growth than our consumer direct. So I'm super excited to see that. I also wanted to point out what our future stays look like from a travel agency perspective. And this is something that's very in line with what we're seeing from a consumer direct standpoint. I'll talk about advanced booking window, but they are really looking for that short-term window, someplace going on vacation in the next 0 to 3 weeks. So something to think about when you're talking with your partners or talking internally with your stakeholders. Consumers are looking to book short-term. And that is because there's a comfortability level saying, okay, if I can travel in the next 2 weeks, I kind of know what's going to happen. And then going into sort of what our consumer trends are. So this is consumer direct searching from our sites. And again, this sort of reiterates what we're seeing from a global perspective. So really for us on the call, I would think most of us are in North America. So that yellow line, this shows the fluctuations of searches on our sites from our consumers and week over week changes. If you take a look at that July 29th, that's sort of the week when all of the hotspots started to peak. And then you can see the fluctuations through the summer and that growth starting sort of July 20th, and then the dip after Labor Day, and then that slight uptick after Labor Day, which is really encouraging. In fact, EMEA and LATAM are the only markets not seeing a pickup, but I think we're starting to see it now. And then the search windows, as I just mentioned, have greatly reduced. This is something I really want to push. Consumers are not booking long-term. They are looking to travel in the next 3 weeks. So if you are a travel supplier, make sure that whatever you are talking about, if you are offering any incentive to book, that it should be within the next 3 weeks. If you have something long-term, realize that you may not see the same pickup just because customers are not feeling comfortable booking longer term out, if that makes sense. And then this is pretty typical. I did mention this earlier. Domestic is ruling. We are seeing a bit of a plateau of international. However, as I mentioned, we're starting to see Canada flights pick up. I think we may momentarily start seeing some Europe. And so as flights come back into the States, I think we might see international go up. But again, I think people are going to be slightly resistant just because of the length of time on that plane, and there's still that sort of uncomfortableness about getting on a plane. And then search volumes. I just, again, wanted to share this. We are seeing an uptick. Take a look at that March and April. Boy, none of us had a good March and April, but definitely seeing that growth in searches. People are still going to travel, not at the same pace that they did before. The volumes are not there where we want them, but they are going up, and I think that's super encouraging. And then I wanted to give you a snapshot. This is sort of an interesting thing that we take a look at internally on a weekly basis. And again, we do this every week. So last week, Branson, the #1 growing city from a search perspective in North America, followed by a couple California cities, and then Connecticut. If any of you are in the Northeast, I happen to be a New Englander. It was nice to see Connecticut on the list. It is fall foliage season. It is the first time in 10 years I have not been in the Northeast during fall foliage. I'm very sad. I cannot make an apple pie because I've not been able to pick that. And then going back into North America. So that's now we're going to talk a little bit about, again, what our customers are doing from a North America perspective. A huge dip after Labor Day. This was not something we were surprised at. We were surprised about the largest dip and the sort of not plateauing. And if you remember on the slide previously for the travel agency program, we saw an immediate uptick afterwards. So now I do think we're going to start seeing that uptick a little bit more. We weren't super surprised that it was going to go down, but it was a bit of a bigger dip than we anticipated. Excuse me. Again, a resurgence of that advanced booking window. Again, this is a North America consumer direct, so this really matches up with what we're seeing from the travel agency community on our sites, that 0 to 21 days. And then I want to talk a bit about Verbose. So again, Verbo is vacation rentals specifically, and this might be a repeat, so my apologies, but one of the big differences with our vacation rental product through Verbo is we do not do shared spaces. So our product on Verbo is self-contained, meaning when somebody rents something from Verbo, it is an entire apartment, an entire house, or a cottage, or whatever the accommodations is. Our customers do not share it with the owner. So a bit of a difference than the other major competitor out there. And we are seeing tremendous growth year over year within our Verbo product. Again, the same sort of dip, big peak in May. For those of you in the Panhandle in Florida, Verbo is, or vacation rental is a huge accommodation. And we saw unprecedented Memorial Days in the Panhandle area. And then definitely a dip as cases started to spike. And then definitely we're starting to see that growth up, and we saw another great spike over Labor Day. And again, future bookings. So one of the things I mentioned before is that sort of short term. So obviously October is still continuing to be the strongest month where we're seeing bookings. However, with vacation rental, because it is self-contained, because there is a sense of safety within that, we are seeing a bit of a stronger November, December than we are seeing in the traditional accommodation sector. And then one of the things I did want to point out that we have released for our partners is a global recovery. So we announced this back early in summer, where we offered a recovery program for hotels specifically, which included marketing credits, reduced compensation, and opportunities to drive bookings anywhere in the future. And all markets within North America and globally have already been rolled out, and we've seen some great uptick there. On the media solutions side, we really designed our recovery program around destinations and market recovery. So we have dedicated $25 million in matching funds for destination recovery, whether it be a DMO specifically or a market co-op, where multiple advertisers come together to drive business for a specific marketplace. And again, this talks a little bit about that destination standalone or a co-op. So again, for those hotels or attractions on the phone, if you are in a market, definitely let's reach out. And if there is a co-op available where you can take part and get your product in front of our valuable customer, we are more than happy to do that. And these are the different marketing opportunities that we do have for you through our multiple brands with email and social and sponsored listings and our display media offering. We can target consumers in a really highly effective way. We know when customers are looking to travel, we know where they think they want to go. They've identified themselves as actual shoppers. So we can really narrow in and get that shopper's attention and drive them to a conversion, which definitely drives economic development and economic recovery for the marketplace. So in closing, so we have enough time for questions, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware. People want to know that they're going to be safe and that you put protocols in place where they can be They know they can be healthy coming into your product. They are staying in vacation rentals or with friends and family in the short term. They are traveling by car, and they are using OTAs as a source of information, but not necessarily booking direct. They are using travel agents. They are going to the product brand.com page to book. So definitely take advantage and spread your message as wide as you can to get as much customer awareness as you possibly can garner. And here is a page real quick. If you are looking to run some media and get in front of our customers, you're welcome to reach out to me. Sherry has my contact information. If you are a hotel partner, Expedia Partner Central is a place that you can go to get all information about our recovery program. If you are an attraction, here is the website if you want more information about our local expert product. And if you are a travel agent on the phone and are looking to become an affiliate partner where you can actually access any of our inventory and earn a commission, here is that website where you can log on and create a profile. And that is the end. So I am happy to take any questions that you may have.
I was going to say, that's not the end. We still have time for questions. And I'll tell you the number one question, use the chat box, use the Q&A box to put some questions in. But I have received about 5 text messages already asking if the slides will be available for everyone.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, I will send them out to you, and you can either, I don't know how you distribute them, but I will get them to you.
Perfect. And we do a key takeaway tomorrow or probably Monday that we'll get it out to everyone via email, and we'll include the slides in that. So we'll make sure that that happens. A couple of other questions. Oh, see, I knew I should have kept that box open. So this is a question from Annette. Annette, thank you for this. Does your data show what are the destinations the clients are looking for in Q4 20?
We can certainly get that for you. Annette, what if you could tell me what area of business you are in, and that may help what kind of information we provide you. But we can take a look at sort of top destinations searched for Q4.
Perfect. And one of the things that I was curious for, and a couple of chats on my phone have come in back and forth, but specifically for the TAP program, I'm assuming that in some of the marketing that's being done, you can target just agents if you're looking for that, and target areas for that as well.
Yeah. So if you are a supplier that want to get in front of travel agents, we can target only those people who are logged on as a affiliate partner. We can also narrow it down. If you happen to be a supplier in a specific region, we can do that as well. Now, I will caution you that the traffic is not that large. So we're not talking to a lot of people yet, but we can certainly take a look at the opportunity.
Perfect. And very quickly, before I go on to the next questions, I was just in a text that the chat was disabled for a little while, so it is back up. I checked it, it's back up and running. So please, you can put questions there or in the Q&A. Sorry about that. A lot of questions have come, pre-COVID, post-COVID, success rates. Are you tracking success differently? So let's start with success rates. People are now marketing again. They weren't for a long time. They've opened up those marketing avenues again. Are they seeing success from doing it?
Yeah, they are. So here's the thing is that I think your measures of success don't change. I think your expectations of what those numbers are have to change. I mean, one of the things we have to remember, the number of people traveling is not what it was before. So if you have a benchmark of a return on ad spend of $4 to every dollar you spend, that may not be possible. It may be, but again, I think your expectations have to change, because there isn't the same number of travelers. We don't have the same number of people coming to market as we used to have. And that's across the board. But we are absolutely seeing, in fact, when I send this deck over to Sherry, I'll include some case studies of some recovery programs that we've run in Hawaii that happened. And what's interesting is Hawaii was marketing to in-state travelers, which is something they traditionally have not. And they were seeing very strong results with people doing staycations. So again, and this is not part of the questions, but one of the things is, as advertisers, you potentially have to change what you traditionally have done. I know that Florida and the state of California, for the first time ever, are actually talking to in-state travelers, where that's not something that they've done before. So you may have to change your tactics a little bit. And again, your KPIs can still be your KPIs, your key performance indicators, but I think you have to manage expectations both internally and with your stakeholders.
And we've been talking short term. Everything is 3 weeks out. We've heard that, you know, some of the wholesalers I've talked to has been 3 days out. You know, so you know, anywhere from a day to 3 days to 3 weeks. I'm assuming you can turn a program around that quickly, right? If they wanted to do something right then, and you know, how long does it take to build up a program, whether it be with TAP or with a region in state, or including some of the attractions in the area?
So I think it depends on how integrated the program is. I think I don't know that I would be able to get a contract signed and a campaign live tomorrow, but I could do something in about 7 days. I think depending on the type of supplier you are, there may be other offerings that could be a bit faster. So if you are a hotel and you are a active hotel on Expedia, we have a product called Travel Ads, which is a hotel specific product that could be turned on and you could be live in less than 24 hours. If you're an attraction, it may take a little bit longer because we need to create the ads, we need to secure the inventory, and we have to create some infrastructure on the back end so we can track the results of the campaign. But we could do it within about a week. I would say 7 days is probably a safe number to do it well.
Awesome. So we've had a couple of questions about co-op programs that made a lot of people sit up and take notice. So could you go into that just a little bit more, kind of what it looks like? Is the co-op program really directed by the state or the city, you know, whomever kind of pulls that in?
So interesting, co-ops are and again, co-ops are literally a single campaign where multiple advertisers can come together. And think of them as a way to promote a marketplace, not a specific product. So some of them are sponsored by the regional DMO, and some are not. So many times, if you think about, so my seller who sits in Orlando actually puts together a co-op every quarter where multiple hotels will come in and create and buy into a Orlando focused campaign. And that's not sponsored by Visit Orlando. That is sponsored ultimately by all the hotels. They are featured on a landing page, and all of the additional traffic that is generated by this campaign is focused in on those hotels. We could absolutely include an attraction into that marketplace. I think if you are in a market and are interested in participating in a co-op, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can put you in touch with the person who oversees that market, and we can see if there's one available for you.
Perfect. But it sounds like to me as well that anyone on the call, we've talked a lot about reaching out across the aisle, being regional, being, you know, a tri-state, you know, putting something together along that line. So it sounds like to me that even everyone on the call can work with their partners and create a co-op as well. Doesn't have to be led by a DMO or a state, though it would be great if it was.
No, not at all. And I think also, you know, I'm on the fence of what's better, DMO sponsored or not. I think when a DMO gets involved with a co-op, I think it's great because it expands the reach of the campaign. But you know, I think again, as I mentioned, Orlando is not sponsored by the DMO, And the campaign is really driven by the seller who's engaged with the local hotels within the marketplace.
I love that. And then there's some questions about friends and family. And I found it really interesting when we were talking that more people were apt to stay with friends and family when it was a short-term visit than it was when they planned a little bit longer in advance. But the question that we have is, do you have a breakdown by category or age demographic for those that are traveling to friends and family?
I don't, because this was not a, we didn't include age in the question, so I don't. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Like, you don't have to have an answer all the time.
I like to.
I know. I like to have an answer all the time as well. So also, really just a curiosity question. Alan is from the UK, so he's curious as to if you have any information about borders opening or if you've heard anything.
I don't. I think, it's interesting. I think we have to go, we ourselves go to the local governments and take a look at when borders are going to open. That's not something we control, and I unfortunately have not kept on top of it, but anecdotally, a friend of mine flew to London because they were going to go to Croatia, because Croatia is allowing US travelers to go in. They were going to go through Frankfurt because Frankfurt Airport has COVID testing available. So I think it's a hunt and pecking, really. The CDC, and there's another website. I don't know. I typically go to the government websites to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and US Travel has a great website as well with their toolkit with everything that they're doing for promotion as well as updates to each different area and border openings and what we can look at there. So that's always a great tool to go to as well. So, when we're talking, and I'm assuming you listed all of the websites or the emails for everyone to touch base if they were a hotel or an attraction or looking for media. If they're a hotel or attraction that doesn't currently work with Expedia, but wants to, are those the same addresses that they would go to reach out for that information?
Yeah, absolutely. At least that would be the starting point. I will say from an attraction standpoint, we're not actively adding anything new right now because we're really focused on recovery. And so new partners attraction partners would be looking at 2021. If you are a hotel and not on, then Expedia Partner Central definitely would be the first stop.
Perfect. So, let's talk about some fun things, right? I know that we got all of the information. We know kind of what consumer sentiment is looking at, and to be honest, from an OTA perspective, it's not different from a tour operator perspective. Safety is number one. That's what people are looking for: safety, cleanliness. They want to feel comfortable when they're traveling somewhere. It's great that that travel is happening again, and we are seeing that pick up. So one of my favorite questions to everyone, and ring in the chat too, if you want to jump in on this, but we would have been a million places by this time. What are your plans? Do you have big plans? Where do you want to travel?
Well, it's interesting. I was supposed to go to St. Martin for my birthday in May. I was supposed to go to Tahiti in July, and I was supposed to go to Amsterdam in August. And so they're all on my list to go and try to do next year. We'll see how that goes. I had one of my favorite vacations last Christmas. I spent it in Tuscany, and I would actually, in a second, go back just so I could eat the cheese and drink the wine.
Well, let me know when you're going.
Yes.
I'm inviting myself along, but I'm sure anyone on this call would invite themselves along as well. Yeah.
I have the perfect villa in the center of Tuscany. So
Look, Heather's coming with us as well. She just said it in the chat box. We're all going. I love it. What's keeping you up at night right now? We're seeing an increase. we're seeing, we saw increases, we're seeing things level out. People are marketing again. We're looking internally, we're looking close range. What's keeping you up at night knowing what you know?
Um, there's two things. I think the political climate in the US, and that's all I'll say. Um, and then, I lead a team of 10 people who are salespeople. And in the world of sales, it's not the greatest of times. And so just sort of making sure that they're okay and that they're taking care of themselves and just ultimately not going crazy sitting at their homes. I think we're all, cabin fever is a real thing. And potentially another shoe dropping, which I don't want to have happen,
I don't think 2020 can take anymore. So
No, I'm done. I'd really like it to be December 31st. Can some of you make that happen, please?
absolutely. We'll see what we can do. So the last thing that I'll ask you before we wrap up today is, what are your words of wisdom? Do you have anything out there for us? If we're not marketing, should we be marketing? If we don't have the money to market alone, can we reach out and do it with someone else? We're all jumping back in to try and get the most out of what we can right now.
No, I would. Here's the thing is that the pool of customers is not as big as it was, but there are customers out there. And if you're not in front of them, you're not going to get their business. So however you can manage it, get in front of the customer. Let them know that whatever you are offering is safe. They will have a good time and feel like they're not putting themselves at risk. If you can't afford to do your own media, find partners to work with and do a collective type of campaign. If you are a travel agent, utilize all resources at your fingertips. That includes our program. I think, again, there is a limited number of customers and they are actively shopping online. And if you're not in front of them, you're not going to get them. Doesn't have to be my site, but they're online, so get there.
Nice reminder. I think for many months now, we've asked the question of it's time to market. Is it time to be out there? And I think collectively we've heard that it is time to be out there. Yeah, for sure. I mean, start with your DMO, start with your state agency, see if they're doing something. If they're not, create your own co-op. And you're very nice to say, if it's not with Derek, there's other ways to get out there, but for the sake of this call Derek. But I think that's just a really good lesson that people are out there, they're actively searching. We've seen that, and it's time to get in front of them.
Yeah, and and I think one of the other things that I think is going to be really important is how do we do it responsibly, and how do we get customers and I hate to use the word over tourism because there's not over tourism right now, but how do we travel responsibly and keep our destinations and keep our products and keep our environments nice? And I think we have to do it smart. So ask questions. Do not be afraid of looking over on the fence and working with somebody that you've never worked with before. We're all connected, and we all, by working together, can create success and recover from this. It's going to be a while, so buckle up. But I think I think we're slowly getting there, and this is the right time to get in front of customers.
Love it. All right, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. It's not easy. We all have things to do, so taking your time means a lot to us. And the information was perfect, and everyone is hungry for as much information as they can so they can create their own recovery plan. One thing that I will leave everyone with is this webinar, just like all of our others, are recorded. So you can go to connecttravel.com, and I think it's technically a / webinars. And that lists all of our upcoming webinars and links to all of the on-demand videos. We have some great webinars coming up this month, so you'll be able to look through them and get them on your calendar. We have eTourism Summit virtual that's happening right now. So if you want to dive into more marketing, social media types of conversation, go to that site, etourismsummit.com, and learn a little bit about virtual, or call me. We are doing 1 hour conversations a day and flashback conversations trying to discuss what we've learned on Fridays. There are individual signups, company signups, and community signups. And for the DMOs on the call, what a great thing to do is to get a community pass and give it to all your partners. So we can certainly talk to you about that as well. And lastly, remember November 8th through the 10th, we are meeting in person. Domestic tour track, receptive tour operator track. You'll get to see Derek talk in person at ETS. So we have a lot going on, and we really want to talk to you about it. So reach out to us. And until then, I will see you next week, where we're going to be talking about building an itinerary. For 6 months now, every tour operator has told us, you need to build a good itinerary. You need to build a unique itinerary. So we're talking about that next week with Sean Bayless, who builds the itineraries for Brand USA, and Karen, VP of Product for ATI. So it should be a really good conversation. And thank you guys for taking the time, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Everyone.